Hello and welcome to the Shrew, Tamed. I'm Catherine Young and I'd like to show you another perspective to this controversial play. Many don't believe that Shakespeare wrote a tale of misogyny. Using the text and what I feel are reasonable assumptions, I'll show that Petruchio is not a money-grabbing bully and Kate is not a downtrodden, obedient automaton. I'll answer these questions. How does a young woman turn into a shrew? What is Shakespeare telling us about the Tudor marriage auction? So what is the story being told in the Taming of the Shrew? This content slide summarises the whole presentation. I hope it gives a feel for the whole story. The slides do have a lot of text on them, and it's just that I wanted the slides to stand alone without the audio if needed. I love the way Professor Emma Smith perfectly sums up the full spectrum of possible interpretations, from cruel to comedy, from a psychopathic Petruchio and a suicidal Kate to a light, farcical, slap and tickle romp. We know from John Fletcher's 1647 sequel, The Woman's Prize, or The Tamer Tamed, is that Petruchio has nightmares about his life with a shrewish Kate. So she wasn't tamed. So what is going on? What we do know is that Shakespeare wove together Lord for a Day tale and an Arabian Nights story for the induction, an Italian play, I Suppositi, for the younger sister subplot, and of course the Taming folk tales, which are in over 30 countries. What we don't know is why Shakespeare added Kate saying twice that she'll be revenged on her sister Bianca. Why did he add these two lines when, to me, this scene is always left hanging, jarring, it's out of place, nothing happens with it in the text. It's like directors don't know what to do with it either, so they play it, get it out of the way, and then get back to the story. But revenge is actually what happens in the final scene. Numerous critics point it out. Kate gets her revenge on Bianca by ruining Bianca's image of being sacred and sweet in the eyes of Baptista and lovely new husband Lucentio. Wives are supposed to be obedient. Bianca didn't come when called, and so really embarrassed Lucentio in public and in front of his father, Vincentio. Bianca is now seen as the disobedient shrew. Kate now retakes her place in society, regains her father's favour, and can now go to all the parties. But if the revenge isn't explicit in the folk tale or Shakespeare's text, why did he add those two lines for Kate? Her silence flouts me and I'll be revenged, and I will go sit and weep till I can find occasion for revenge. He could easily just not added those two lines. I'd like your help to work out how performance can make the revenge storyline clear. So first, a bit of context. Why Kate is a shrew, the marriage auction. Kate doesn't want a loveless marriage. She says the marriage auction makes her feel like a prostitute. She doesn't want to have sex with an older man just because he's the highest bidder, and she doesn't see why she should, frankly. Old Gremio calls her a scold, and the phrase cart her was also used for prostitutes. Kate picks up on this meaning and shouts at Baptista, "Is it your will to make a stale of me amongst these mates?" Baptista and Kate had a close relationship. She was able to tell her father how she really felt, that she wanted to marry for love. He understood her, agreed with her. She could marry for love, hence the stipulation to Petruchio. Ay, when that special thing is well obtained, that is her love, for that is all in all. The sisters are treated so differently. Baptista tells Petruchio that Kate's love must be sought, but Bianca gets no such consideration at all and is auctioned off literally. And this is not that Baptista doesn't care about Bianca, it's just that Bianca is letting Baptista believe she is absolutely fine with an arranged marriage. When Kate still hasn't found that special face, someone she can love, after months perhaps, society is judging the family. What's wrong with the Minollas? Baptista's patience is wearing thin. Come on, lass, it worked for mother and I, and Nadia from Bake Off, pick husband. Kate's behaviour deteriorates. Her tongue, her words, are her only weapon to put off suitors, and she ends up having slanging matches in the street. Kate is unhappy, angry, and she's ruined her own reputation and her relationship with her father, but she's dug her heels in. Kate is doing this for herself, but also for Bianca, who will soon be in exactly the same predicament. If Lucentio doesn't arrive, Bianca will be married off to old Gremio, who's the same age as her father. All Bianca has to do is agree with Kate and speak to Baptista, saying they both will only marry for love. So, a couple of questions. What has Bianca done that is so terrible to warrant such strong feelings for revenge? And how does Kate get from shrew to shrewd? How does she get from being really angry to being calculating and clever in order to exact her revenge? So what has Bianca done that's so terrible? Just by saying the words, "Kate has a point, Dad. We both want to marry for love," Bianca could save Kate. But her silence flouts me. Bianca keeps quiet and won't tell Baptista she agrees with Kate. Baptista will continue to think that arranged marriage is fine because Bianca seems happy with it, and it's Kate who is the troublemaker, the ungrateful brat, the shrew. Bianca is consumed by jealousy of Kate and Baptista's close relationship. Bianca is over the moon that Kate is falling from grace. As the cracks appear in Kate and Baptista's relationship, Bianca eagerly steps up to inhabit the role of dutiful daughter and take her place as Baptista's favourite. And at every step, Bianca reinforces her own coy, sweet and obedient image and the mad image of Kate. In Act 2, Scene 1, Kate is desperate. She tries one last time to get through to Bianca, to be her ally. But it all goes badly wrong. Bianca tells Kate she knows her duty to her elders. She will act obedient in public. But in private, Bianca hasn't found someone she can love. Kate is angry, and instead of appealing to Bianca's better nature, Kate taunts Bianca. "You don't fancy anyone, yet you're acting like you're available to marry Hortensio or old Gremio. You're acting like you're on show, like a prostitute, ready for the taking as long as the price is right." The coy and obedient image is like catnip to suitors. It's the Tudor equivalent of flashing an ankle. Have some self-respect. Why don't you speak up and say that you don't want to be auctioned off? Bianca, the bitch, returns fire and says that Kate really wants to marry Hortensio or Gremio, and is only spitting with jealousy because those two only have eyes for Bianca. Then Bianca says that Kate is just joking. Kate snaps. "My unhappiness, my bad relationship with father, my reputation being wrecked, that's all a joke too, is it? Wake up!" And she slaps Bianca. I wondered why Bianca would keep quiet. Surely they're on the same side. But Bianca knows that whichever man she marries, she will be the one in total control. There'll be no mutuality or honesty in that marriage. She will manipulate and control her husband, presumably by using affection and intimacy as a bargaining chip. And Kate knows this. Bianca would stick a finger in her eye to make herself cry if she thinks it would be to her advantage. Kate washes her hands of Bianca, leaves Bianca to her fate, and twice vows revenge on her. So how does Kate get from shrew to shrewd? How does she get from being really angry to being calculating and clever in order to exact her revenge? Kate is now completely on her own in her predicament. She has absolutely no allies. She can't see anyone breaking out of the strict society rules or standing up against society's norms until, as Kate is vowing revenge in Act 2, Scene 1, Petruchio, enters the scene just 2 lines later. He could have overheard everything.
Flash by name, flash by nature. Hooray!
Now, if this character was told, I have this top-of-the-range gorgeous motorbike for you, but I don't think you should ride it. It's far too powerful for you. How do you think this character would react? Of course, he wouldn't say, "Oh, I think you're right. Yes, that's too much for me." No, he'd say, "Have I not piloted juggernauts into battle? Have I not ridden the great winged Pegasus himself? And you tell me of what? A little bicycle with a little engine? Tisk, tisk, fear boys with bugs." Petruchio appears to be the social image of the ideal man, the master of all he surveys, fazed by nothing. Petruchio is not after the money. Crafty Hortensio has goaded and teased Petruchio into accepting the challenge, knowing he can't back down. There is much guile in Hortensio. He's the one that suggested to Gremio they should work together to find a husband for Kate. Hortensio knew that his friend Petruchio was on his way. And further, it's Hortensio who first mentions money. As Petruchio talks about his father's death, these few lines are honest, not part of the bravado exterior. Petruchio simply says he is in Padua, happily to wive and thrive as best I may. This doesn't sound like a man who is on the hunt for any wife as long as she's rich. He continues, "Crowns in my purse I have, and goods at home, and so am come abroad to see the world." He sounds very balanced here. Petruchio's fate, as forever being known by audiences as money-grabbing, is sealed by his servant, Grumio, who ups the ante so much that Petruchio, now with his blustery exterior, can't back down and has to agree that he's okay marrying an old hag as long as the price is right. Of course, Petruchio won't marry an old hag. Plus, he doesn't need the money. Money is always going to be an issue, of course. He can never know whether a woman wants him or his money, and has probably had gold-digger daughters and their fathers fawning over him, trying to ingratiate themselves to gain a financially beneficial marriage. This confident macho persona may be one that appears to beat his servant, dog and wife, but it's clear that this is not the real Petruchio. He has a long-standing bond of trust with Grumio. No downtrodden servant would dare goad his boss. And Petruchio trusts Grumio when dealing with Kate back at his house. There is depth to Petruchio behind his bravado. I believe he wants a real relationship, an honest relationship. He can see Kate's honesty immediately. She's completely trashed through any pretense of social graces. She clearly doesn't want him or his money. He also sees that she wants dignity, because she slaps him after the tongue-in-my-tail quip. She doesn't want to be reminded that she is part of the sex-for-money bargain. But he denies her food, sleep, and nice clothes. Surely he's a bully. Petruchio likens his treatment of Kate to that of the manning of a falcon. This is to remove fear and instill trust, not break the spirit. The falcon remains wild. It's a partner in the hunting process. The bird hunts for its own food, which the falconer then trades with the bird, offering food as a swap to give up the recent kill. It's not a retriever. These 2 books shown, The Art of Falconry by the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II in 1241, and The Book of St. Albans, written by Dame Juliana Berners in 1486, both describe the manning process. The falcon must be kept awake and not fed for a day and a night, just like Kate. These books also say that the falcon must be hooded or have its eyes sewn shut during this time, though. I do put Petruchio in the role of therapist because I see Kate as being in need of help. When we meet her, she is not in control of her emotions. She's destroying the relationship with her father, and she's not functioning in society. I see similarities in Petruchio's treatment of Kate with the principles of wilderness therapy, or brat camp. Now, don't get me wrong, wilderness therapy is not for people with mental health issues. It's for unruly or spoilt teenagers who haven't quite figured out yet the hard work it takes to keep a full fridge, a warm, safe bed, and the latest fashions on their backs. They learn mutuality and how their behaviour contributes to the household, either negatively or positively. Wilderness therapy psychology is firstly taking the subject away from the home environment to an alien environment, from home to a mountain or desert wilderness, from Padua to Petruchio's house, so that routine and behaviour patterns are interrupted. The essential elements of wilderness therapy are that the subjects cook their own meals over a fire, sleep in basic tents, and all wear the same uniform, a hoodie top and jogging bottoms. So they're hungry, without a good night's sleep, with no unique dress and image to hide behind. Petruchio denies Kate sleep and food. I'm sure he pops down to the kitchen at some point himself, though, but he doesn't sleep because he's too busy keeping her awake. Petruchio's comments to Kate are always positive. He never verbally abuses her. The counsellors on wilderness therapy use unconditional positive regard. They don't shout or reprimand the teenagers. The aim is for the teenagers to realise the actual reality of the effort it takes to provide shelter, a warm and comfortable bed, decent food and clothes. This is the lesson that Petruchio wants Kate to learn. Maybe Kate is a little spoilt. Marriage in Tudor England was, after all, a financial transaction by necessity. Maybe the best one could hope for was mutual respect and companionship. Arranged marriages can work incredibly well. Ask Nadia Hussain from the Great British Bake Off. On the way back to Padua, Petruchio is teaching Kate that words don't have to reflect reality. It's 7 o'clock when it's 2 o'clock. He is asking her to trust him no matter what words he says. The sun is the moon. She regains some strength here, and they begin to play and spar again with each other as they did when they first met. Petruchio is showing her that social interaction is a game, and that it can now be played in the public sphere, because when they meet Vincentio on the road, it's Petruchio who starts it. He calls out twice, "Good morrow, gentle mistress, where away?" and "Fair lovely maid, once more, good day to thee." Petruchio dares Kate to continue calling old Vincentio a young woman. This isn't Petruchio demanding that Kate obeys him like an obedient, downtrodden automaton. This is a game, and Kate gets it. She blows forth with great gusto, bringing in the parents, the stars, future husband, and next-door neighbour's dog, in praise of such a young budding virgin. I love this bit in Jonathan Miller's BBC version, where Kate laughingly checks with Petruchio whether he wishes it to be the sun or the moon this time, as she says, "Pardon, old father, my mistaking eyes that have been so bedazzled with the sun." Such a performance can only work if Kate throws aside any false pride she may have. She can't be afraid of being seen as imperfect, mad, or a failure in some way. She shouldn't and doesn't care that Vincentio thinks of her as a bit strange. Petruchio didn't mind that what people thought of him, the way he turned up madly dressed at the wedding. He was doing it for a reason. Which leads me on to my next point. It's the effect that words and actions have, the end result they produce, which is the important thing. For example, in Act 1, as Petruchio and Grumio first arrive in Padua at Hortensio's house, Petruchio asks his servant to knock at the door. Grumio misunderstands on purpose and makes such a great scene about how afraid he is that Petruchio is going to beat him up. Grumio winds up Petruchio so much there is shouting. This has exactly the same result as a knock on the door. It brings Hortensio out of his house. The way Petruchio turns up at the wedding elicits the response, she's a lamb, a dove, from those surrounding Kate. Petruchio's actions have caused this response, and Kate's shrewish image has had a little bit chipped off in the eyes of those around her. This shows that a person's image can be changed and engineered so. This is the reason for the induction. It gives us the key on how to view the play within a play. The story of Sly shows us how the status of the subject is changed, or more accurately engineered, by one character who manipulates the elements of food, clothes, and sleep or comfort, and by influencing those surrounding the subject. In Sly's case, the Lord openly instructs the observers to think of Sly in a certain way. Petruchio engineers the situation to secretly influence the observers to think of Kate in a certain way. These are Petruchio's rope tricks, the ways of persuading by his actions and his words. Petruchio's speeches in Act 1 hit all the categories of rhetoric, pathos, logos, and ethos, as does Kate's final speech, which is a masterclass in rhetoric. Petruchio states the bet. When Bianca refuses to come, when the widow refuses to come, Kate must have realised that some game was afoot. Petruchio throws her a curveball. He doesn't know if she'll understand or how she'll respond. She could easily have acted in exactly the same way as the widow and Bianca. But this is Petruchio's gift to her, the revenge. She has learnt to trust him, regardless of how mad his requests are. She has learnt from him that you have to play the game using their rules, to appear to follow the dominant discourse, that men are superior and women are obedient, in order to thrive in society. She has also learnt that it's okay to play the role of obedient wife in the public sphere to get what you want. She is now clever, calculating, and shrewd. But where is Kate in all of this, and what does she think of Petruchio? Critics wonder why a very vocal Kate remains silent in Act 2 while Petruchio confirms to Baptista that the marriage is going ahead. Clamorous Voices actors report that Kate is watching in this scene. Kate is angry and shouty, yes, but both Hortensio and Gremio insult Kate in public and in front of her father, calling her rough, a devil, fiend of hell, and Baptista does nothing. So when Petruchio snaps at the suitors, if she and I be pleased, what's that to you? This is the first time Kate has seen someone put the suitors in their place, to stand up to them, and she is included, with equal billing. Ah, she thinks, this is new. So she watches him. And what does happen on that journey back to Padua? She realises that she can't win. She realises that she can't have her own way, but she also realises that her way has brought her unhappiness. She is mentally and physically exhausted, and her reputation and standing in society is at rock bottom. She sees that Petruchio is thriving in society, yet he acts madly and is friends with his servant. She has to take a leap of faith, where although it may feel or appear like a surrender, what she's actually surrendering is her old broken self. She takes a step into the unknown, and it may feel like she's going to join the devil, but she has no option but to try it his way. Alexander Leggett describes this moment in his book Shakespeare's Comedy of Love as a character being on the brink of a new realization, a theme which he says Shakespeare returns to. But Petruchio uses the word obedient a lot though, doesn't he? In the Cambridge English Dictionary, obedient also means dutiful. This changes everything for me. Petruchio, for the purposes of the bet and out of the earshot of the women, uses the word obedient. As soon as the women are present, the emphasis moves from obedient to dutiful. In Act 5, Scene 2, Lucentio and Bianca use the word duty 4 times in 5 lines. Kate, in her speech, uses the words true obedience, obedient and obey, so her speech is actually directed at the men. She is reprimanding the women, but she is speaking to the men, describing how their new wives don't measure up to the men's expectations of the ideal wife. Petruchio serves up to Kate her perfect revenge, his gift to her. Bianca is hoisted by her own petard, using the same standards that were once used to attack Kate. There is absolutely no comeback. Bianca didn't come when called. Bianca is now cast as, or revealed to be, the shrew. Each year, intrepid directors and cast, researchers and critics take on the shrew. I'm going to discuss these interpretations in future posts. So what is the story of the taming of the shrew, or what is it not? A common solution raised is that Kate just lets Petruchio think he is in control of her, as in What Every Woman Knows, the 1908 play by J.M. Barrie. There is no evidence for this in the text, though. Or, in an attempt at equal rights, Kate somehow overhears the bet and she and Petruchio split the winnings. This would mean that Kate would have to hang around and listen at the door for 20 lines, or she goes to the parlour, returns to the dining room for some reason, just in time to hear the bet. Or maybe Petruchio and Kate agree all of this before the meal and after the kiss, which isn't outside the realm of possibility. But I do think it's kind of cheating because it's not even hinted at in the text. Shrew is not a battle of the sexes. It's an exploration of the equally ancient how to strive and thrive in society, set within a tale of jealousy and revenge between sisters. By the use of education, performance and illusion, or spin as we know it, Petruchio takes the role of puppet master, teaching Kate and influencing those around her. The dominant discourse of the time was that the man was the patriarch, his word was law. Women were coy and obedient, and servants were seen and not heard. Petruchio shows us that interactions in public are to be treated and enjoyed as a game. The aim is to appear to be the ideal social image of a male or female, and therefore untouchable, respected, free from criticism. This fosters a trustworthy reputation, which is essential in order to make a living in a world without social security. To create this ideal social image, words and actions don't have to reflect actual reality. It's their effect they have, the image they create in the minds of the onlookers, which is the important thing. This social public persona is different to the personal and the private individual. Lucentio and Tranio set this tone in the very first scene by discussing how one should operate in the two spheres of the social, using logic and rhetoric in conversation with friends, whilst not forgetting to enjoy pleasure from the senses in the private sphere whilst in Padua. I see Shrew as a social satire, along the lines of the ancient Greek Old Comedy, where each generation, through theatre, highlights hypocrisy in the prevailing social conventions. Everyone calls Kate mad for saying she's being treated like a prostitute. Everyone calls Petruchio mad for acting like Kate is his possession, his chattel. But this is the actual reality of the marriage auction. And we must remember, why does a young woman turn into a shrew? What can a young woman do if society says that she's been auctioned off in marriage to the highest bidder, regardless of his age and her feelings? How would you react? Bianca and the widow follow an equally valid path in these circumstances. Shakespeare put this criticism of the dominant discourse and the social convention in A Play Within a Play, not to show its fantasy, but the exact opposite, like the mousetrap in Hamlet, to say to the audience, pay attention to this bit, this is what's actually happening. This is how women are reacting to the marriage auction. It's the social convention which makes women angry, like Kate, or manipulating and controlling, like Bianca, if Lucentio hadn't appeared. The problem for us, of course, is with the dominant discourse of the time, that a man was superior to a woman. It's exactly the same problem that Shakespeare saw. He didn't write a tale of misogyny in Shrew. As with all his other plays, he wrote about characters in all their complicated glory, on how they navigate their way around social conventions. The characters think what we think. No one should be subservient. He is asking the audience of the day, why do we believe this dominant discourse when no one actually follows it? Isn't it time to rethink what men and women should be to what they actually are? Old Gremio represents the dominant discourse. He is shown to be outdated, outwooed, and leaves with nothing. It seems that it's only old Gremio who actually follows the dominant discourse. None of the other characters do. Kate wants to marry for love and is angry. Bianca only acts coy and obedient to speed up Kate's ruin. Kate only acts obedient to get revenge on Bianca. Petruchio is friends with his servant. Baptista wants Kate to marry for love. Lucentio knows full well that Bianca is not sacred and sweet because, when Hortensio and Lucentio, disguised as tutors, try to dictate to Bianca which skill she should learn first, she shows us exactly who she is. Why, gentlemen, you do me double wrong, to strive for that which resteth in my choice. I'm no breaching scholar in the schools. I'll not be tied to hours nor pointed times, but learn my lessons as I please myself. Plus, she marries in secret behind her father's back. Vincentio seems perfectly fine and accepting of Kate's mad mistaking, which is effectively a public insult from a woman. Lucentio treats Tranio with respect and mutuality, and the banter in Act 4, Scene 2 shows that Bianca is part of this gang. Bianca marries for love and is surrounded by mutuality, so when Lucentio summons her, he breaks this trust. Bianca refuses to follow this unacceptable demand, as it's not his honest will, and she reprimands Lucentio in public for betting on her. The widow has been chasing Hortensio into marriage, and it's noted that he is afraid of his new wife. Shakespeare, as always, has held up a mirror to us to see what we think of ourselves. But what about that ending? Shrew famously has an ending that appears to be a bit of a damp squib. Some say the original ending is lost. Some say Shakespeare learnt to explain the plot more clearly in later plays. Ancient Greek old comedy plays had an anticlimactic ending to the storyline as the plays descended into chorus and carnival-like performances. Some say the ending is exactly as it should be. Only at the end of the Taming of a Shrew is there a hint of Kate's sought-after revenge. But it's not much of an improvement. I say thou art a shrew. That's better than being a sheep. Well, since 'tis done, let it go. Come, let's in.
Yea, he cometh to us, like the seed of the grave.